Hey everybody, welcome to the Run Selfie Repeat podcast, where normally we're talking life with a side of running, but this is a Project 159 episode. We're talking running, and all things running. Because I'm training. My name's Kelly Roberts. I'm the founder of the Badass Lady Gang and the host of this podcast. I am a running coach if we've never met before, and I've been a running influencer for a really, really long time, well over a decade now. So I've been around the block, baby. I've been podcasting forever. I've been talking about myself forever, and I'm here to talk about myself some more. All right, Project 159, what's happening? Right now, I am training for a half marathon. I have spent all of this year trying to get back into fighting shape because in the back of my mind, I've had this idea to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon again. The Boston Marathon is often referred to as the everyday person's Olympics. In order to qualify for the Boston Marathon, you need to run a Boston Marathon qualifying time, which is set by I'm assuming the BAA, the Boston Athletic Association, who runs the Boston Marathon. I wanted to do it because I was turning 35 this year, which meant when I decided to announce that I was doing this again, my qualifying time was moving from 3 hours and 30 minutes to 3 hours and 35 minutes because I was aging up. So there are different standards for different age groups, and my last age group, when I first started trying to BQ back in 2016, it was 3:35. And I trained. I took my marathon time from 3 hours and 59 minutes and some change down to 3 hours and 42 minutes and change, but fell short of qualifying for Boston, but finished being like, okay, I can do this. I really believe I can do this, which was exciting. And so shortly after that, they announced that the new time was 3 hours and 30 minutes. All of our standards were moved because so many people were trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon. And the way the Boston Marathon works is there are X amount of spots for each age group and gender. I was like, that's okay. I think I can do that. I feel really confident that this is really challenging and hard, but I think I can do it because I get it. I understand how this works. I believe in myself now, and I think I can do it. So I ended up getting injured right before my second attempt. That went sideways, and then spent the next little while trying to get back in the game and get my head game straight and get back into BQ shape. And my next attempt was in 2019, and I ended up running a 3 hour, 37 minute marathon and some change. So definitely a huge PR from 3:42 down to 3:37, but 7 minutes off of my qualifying time. I was in a bad place. I decided to stop doing that, get help, get back into therapy, work on some stuff, and fast forward to 2024, and I knew I wanted to try again last 2023. I knew I wanted to try again this year, or get back into it to see when I could do it. And here we are. It is now almost November. It's October 27th as I'm recording this. It's almost November 2024. And I am curious to see if I can make this happen by the spring of 2025. So I know the race that I want to try to do this at. And it is about 6 months away. We'll talk about it in a second, but I'm optimistic now that I think this is doable. I would say until this week, I was unsure about whether or not a spring marathon was doable, if I could get to where I need to get to aerobically and physically and mentally by a spring marathon, and if a fall marathon was more realistic. And I still am not sure, but after this weekend, I'm starting to think this is definitely possible for spring. I was thinking that I really needed to wait until the Philly half to figure out if I needed to start pursuing a bib for the race that I want to do in spring. I almost said the month. You could probably guess which one I want to try. But I don't know if I want to tell you. Let me think on it. There is no set roadmap of like step 1, you have to be able to do this. Step 2, you have to be able to do this in order to get to BQing. And something that I keep reiterating after they announced the new standards where my time is now back to 3 hours and 30 minutes is, of course it matters, right? Does 3:35 feel a lot more doable than 3:30? 100%. But it doesn't also matter because at the end of the day, you can only do your best on any given day. A lot of people were making videos about Chicago, the Chicago Marathon that just happened 2 weeks ago. I can't even remember. Time is like, what is time right now? And how a lot of people who were gunning for certain standards were now going to push themselves a little further to try to hit the new standards despite training for the old standards. And I kept watching those videos thinking like, I get it. But at the same time, you don't train for a time. You train to see what your body is capable of, period, full stop, right? Like, I'm not going to show up to a track day and say, I'm only going to try a little hard because I don't want to run faster than my standard. Every time that you show up to training, you're giving your best for the workout. And workouts aren't, like, there's not like a sliding scale of how hard they are. It's just, this is the little bit of stress that we're introducing to push you as far as we can without breaking you and without putting you at risk for not being able to recover or adapt. Everything is like, you're always pushing the envelope as far as you can. So regardless of whether you're trying to train for like the world record or a 6-hour marathon, like everybody is pushing themselves as far as they can go, if that makes sense. So that's why I say it doesn't really matter. Now, on the day, if your best is projected to be 3:35, given like your training, and like even that's a little bit of a stretch and it's going to require like the perfect day, is then switching it to a 3:30 and switching your pacing strategy, is that crazy? Kind of, because your training will indicate what's possible. So if your training is indicating that a 3:35 is a little moonshotty, and though you trained for that, will require, like all the stars to align, trying to push paces to make something that's 5 minutes faster, which is a significant increase, is stupid and crazy, right? Now, something that we can talk a lot about today is one of the biggest things that I have learned from trying to do this BQ or bust in 2016 when this initially started, and now, and this is like me, a running coach, I learned this, is the paces are kind of irrelevant. It really is all about effort level and understanding the why behind the effort levels and the why behind the structure of the training. Because if you're having a great day, but you're within the right heart rate zones and efforts, and you're not pushing it or overdoing it, and you're faster than what your prescribed paces are, then it wouldn't make sense for you to hold back and rob yourself of the full workout just so that you can hit your prescribed paces, and vice versa. It doesn't make sense if something is off, whether it's you're stressed out, you're not sleeping as well, you're in the high hormone phase of your cycle, and things are kind of wonky, the weather, hydration levels, a whole host of things, to be pushing through those sorts of things and pushing too hard so that you overdo it in a workout just to hit the paces that you were quote unquote supposed to hit and that you were prescribed. Like, does that make sense? And that's something I didn't really understand. I had no concept of or grasp of that. And honestly, I have no idea if people were trying to guide me with that. My guess is they were, but the paces and the outcomes were really the only thing I had to help me understand where I was and where I stood from this seemingly impossible goal and the work that I was doing. And even then I didn't understand the paces. I would look at the numbers, and for a long while, the biggest obstacle was the predefined limits that I had. I would see a number with a 7, for instance, in front of it and just panic, or like a 6. And even after weeks and weeks and weeks of consistently doing these longer reps at these, what I thought were crazy, ludicrous paces, if you were to prescribe me the workout and not tell me I had done it before and I was able to hit those paces, I would still be like, I can't do that. Like, that pace is too fast. I had those limits were truly limiting, and they would freak me out. And I would get up in my head and I would start to resist, and I would start to panic before the workout, during the workout. I made everything a lot harder than it needed to be, instead of just focusing on what was inside of my control, my form, my breathing to an extent, my mantras, my mental game, what I was doing before, during, and after workouts, and the mental side of things. I was really just relying on Dr. Bob and talking it out instead of journaling. And what I have come to learn and understand is that on any given day, you're going to perform a little bit differently, and that's okay, and to trust the efforts. And this comes with years and years and years and years of trying, because even though I stopped trying to qualify for Boston and chasing these goals in 2019, I didn't stop running. Like, I kept chasing goals that were fun for me to chase. A lot of them were a lot more shorter distance, but like, I kept doing speed play because I like speed play. I didn't train as hard as I am right now, but differently, right? Like, when I think of my half Ironman training, I did a half Ironman last year. When I think of my half Ironman training was the hardest training ever, but not because every single workout was grinding the way that a lot of times marathon training or trying to be Q training earlier was, but because there was just so much that needed to happen. Like, every day I was working out 2 to 3 hours a day, because I would have to double up on stuff, and it would be like a run and a strength session, or a swim and a bike ride, or like sometimes 3 things. So it was like, and then the long stuff was really long. I was doing, like 5-6 hour bike rides one day, and then the long run the next day. So it was just a lot. Like, the time that was necessary was a lot. Marathon training, for anyone who has ever trained for a marathon, that it's just grueling. It is exhausting. It's a part-time job. It is so much work. I think the time commitment it's a lot less than half Ironman training, but like, it is so hard on your body because you're just running. Whereas half Ironman training, though you were doing so much more volume, because there's 3 different disciplines and 2 of them are low impact, swimming and cycling versus running, you don't feel as destroyed, or at least in my experience. I didn't train like with a ton of speed play in all 3 disciplines. Like, I only did running speed play. I never did bike riding speed play. I never did quality sessions in swimming or in cycling. Like, those were not the workouts I did. I knew I wanted the D's get degrees approach to half Ironman training, and I just wanted to feel really strong and finish the race. I hate that I just said just. I truly, like, I'm on my athletes about that. My goal was to finish strong, feel good, and have a really strong day. I'm reframing. And I did. I felt, despite the fucking insanity of the hurricane, we did it in the middle of this tropical storm, and the swim was so traumatizing and scary. It was so scary. They shortened it, but they should have canceled it. And though a part of me is glad they didn't cancel it, because I do think I would have had to then be like, well, I must try again and train for another one. And I'm sure I'll do another one. I really enjoyed triathlons. Like, I loved triathlons. It was so, my body has never felt better than when I was triathlon training. I didn't feel like I was beating myself up the way I do than when I'm running. Running, I just feel beat up. Like, my hips hurt. Like, I'm injury prone. And like, even when I'm doing everything right, which we'll talk about in a second, is staying healthy. But it's hard. Like, there's just so much. It's interesting because I'm like so in like marathon mode right now. I keep saying week 8 and thinking like we're halfway there, but we're not. We're 2/3 of the way there, which is hard to wrap your head around, thinking like there's really 2 more weeks of training before the taper, right? I have week 9 and week 10, which are my final 2 biggest blocks. I have peak week in 2 weeks. And then, which honestly, there's not going to be that much of a difference between the week 9 and week 10. The mileage is going to be very similar. There might be a 10-15% difference. But otherwise, like, we have a 1 week taper and then it's race day. This week was especially exciting because I had my race. I had this 10K in Sleepy Hollow, the Sleepy Hollow spooky 10K. And it was a check-in, a really big check-in, a really big mental moment for me, but we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, before we get into training, before I forget, I'm already like on a tangent. Before I forget, we have a very exciting announcement for Badass Lady Gang. Normally in years past, ever since we started the training team, we put the Badass Lady Gang training team on sale once a year on Black Friday, on that Black Friday weekend through Cyber Monday. And for those of you who don't know, the Badass Lady Gang training team is my passion project. I created our training team to make coaching accessible. Getting a running coach is incredibly expensive. If you want to do one-on-one running coaching with me, it's $250 a month, which is expensive. That's a lot of money. So, and that's pretty standard. Like most running coaches, it'll run you between $150 to $250. Well, what's the difference? Well, one is experience in the type of stuff that they do, and 2 is the time that they give you. A lot of coaches will just text with you or just email with you. With me, you get a weekly coaching call so that you and I are talking for an hour a week, up to an hour a week. Sometimes most of the time we don't need an hour. In the beginning, oftentimes we're really taking an hour, and then on key sessions, we're taking the whole hour, but more often than not, we're taking 30 to 40 minutes. And then you have access to email with me. So the more like hands-on experience you need and face-to-face, like the more expensive it tends to be. Unless you are an experienced runner, I am not pro texting and emailing. You should be face-to-face talking with your running coach if you are hiring a running coach, because that part of it is so important, that nuance of like listening to each other and just knowing how I coach athletes on the team and how much of it happens over email, despite offering the amount of coaching calls that we offer. I have so many follow-up questions when stuff is happening and we have to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I'm not able to ask you everything that I want to ask you because inevitably we start moving to other places in email. So having that face-to-face and that time to like really go through stuff with each other and go through your training and customize things and adjust is really helpful, but that's expensive. So I wanted to do what I discovered was the most transformational experience. And it's what I learned by doing something, some of the programs that I got to be a part of here in New York City. And that's the shared experience of training with others. We formulated the team based on a lot of things, but we wanted to give our team access to our training experiences so that you could be a part of these really like special groups where you're all training for the same thing and you have a weekly coaching call together, and people don't have to be on the training team to be a part of training experiences. You can just purchase the training experience itself. But as a team member, one of the perks is you get access to all of the training experiences. You get access to customized training plans. So whatever you want to do, your plan will be customized by me, Coach Kelly. You get access to Coach Amanda and her live, not only her live weekly strength class, but all of her strength and training resources. And then you get access to at least 6 coaching calls with me every single week where we will be talking to each other. You'll be in a group, but you do get one-on-one attention. Depending on all the coaching, you can come to all the coaching calls. You can come to one coaching call. We've got midweek coaching calls. We've got evening coaching calls. Like we do so many coaching calls, and sometimes we have more than 6. Like right now we have 4 training experiences going. So there's coaching calls happening midday Mondays, evening Mondays, midday Tuesdays, evening Tuesdays, no midday Wednesday, but evenings Wednesday, but long evenings, so like a 3.5 hour chunk of time. No coaching calls oh, that's not true. There's an evening coaching call on Thursday, and then there's a midday coaching call on Friday. So right now we've got I think there's 8 or 9 coaching calls that people on the team can join. So there are so many coaching calls. You get a discount code for merch. You get all of our journals and our mental resources, the mental video library. There's just so much that is available to you. And the mental side of things is the hardest part. So having access to not only a coach, but resources to help you understand the concepts and put the concepts in work every single time you train. Because this isn't the type of stuff that you do it once and you like, haha, I got it. It's you learn it and you relearn it and you relearn it and you relearn it and relearn and relearn and relearn. If I didn't record myself and have literal proof of me saying I've never heard that before and then be able to like, let's look at the tape and then be like, watch me learn it 3 times, I wouldn't believe you. But I have that proof that like, I've already learned this. And now that I teach it and that we work on it and I coach it, you know, I'm still, even in my training, like rediscovering things and coming at it from different perspectives and taking all of this mastered experience that I have and just like making it fuller and bigger. I always like to describe it as like starting with a 12 pack of crayons and getting really good with the 12 crayons and then learning how to use a 96 pack of crayons or like all the crayons in the world. I guess watercolor is probably a better example, and getting better at like manipulating colors and swirling colors and using everything. You just get more specialized and your mastery goes up and you become just like a more well-rounded athlete and a more just like a smarter athlete. And that mental side takes time. You know, I think this effort level, understanding effort levels is a really huge example of that. Like where I'm at now, under like, it's not a cop out for me to show up to a race and say, I'm not going to prescribe paces for myself because this is X kind of race, a hilly race for me, for example. This is a really hilly race and I don't really know what paces I'm possible of hitting at this, like the elevation climbing that we're doing. And I'm not at elevation, meaning like mountains, but like the race that we ran on Saturday is so, I've never ran a hilly race like this in my whole life ever. And I remember that Runner's World half was super, super hilly, but even that wasn't this hilly. Like it was really hilly. We were just constantly going up and down hills and steep hills. Like, it was hard. And it wasn't like the hills going up them, though challenging. Like, and there were like few moments where you were just like, oh my gosh, this is so steep. Going down it was harder. It was really challenging to go down some of those like really, really, really steep hills. And I'm great at racing hills. My first coach, Josh, made me such a confident racer on hills. It's something I'm so grateful for. He really helped me understand like how to do speed work on hills and how to race hills and how to get confident on hills. And the first thing he ever did with me was shift what I said to myself when I would come up to a hill. And I do this with my athletes. Really like start to get mindful of what you say to yourself when you come upon a hill. Is it like, oh my God, no? Or is it, oh no, this is going to be awful or whatever? And can we shift that to like, bring it on? I can do this. I'm really strong on hills. I'm so strong on hills. Bring it. Things like that. Or just straight up just being neutral and not even saying anything about the hill other than like strong and steady and things like that. That's a big difference, right? And then focusing on effort up the hill, not your race pace, focusing on effort up the hill, because you're probably going to be a little bit off your pace going uphill. But instead, normally what I would do is think, just get to the top of the hill, then you can catch your breath. So I would catch my breath at the top. But what Josh taught me was go up and start to push downhill so that you lean into the hill and you let gravity take you downhill. Your cadence picks up and you don't necessarily sprint down the hill, but you really let your turnover go so that you are not fighting gravity or bracing to get like to pull back on the hill. You're pushing down the hill. And then you catch your breath on the other side, right? You take 30 seconds to like, yep, I'm okay. And then you keep going, right? It's not like you pull back and jog, but like you just focus on recovering for 30 seconds and like really breathing deeply and exhaling a little bit longer than you're inhaling and things like that. And then you just re-click in and you race. So I felt really good on those hills, but like I couldn't even on some of the hills let my legs go because it was so steep. It was brutal. My hamstrings at one point were like, ma'am, what are we doing here? But yeah, shall we talk about the week before I like really just forget what I'm doing? Oh, Black Friday, the team. Wow. I totally didn't even tell you what. Oopsie poopsie. Okay, circling back. Black Friday. Historically, that's the only time the team goes on sale. So one-on-one coaching, all that stuff. The team is not cheap, right? Even though one-on-one coaching is $250 a month, the team is normally $599 a year, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And then something like either, I forget what the monthly rate is, but it is an investment. For this year, 2024, we're putting the team on sale in November and December. So from November 1st to January 1st, the team is going on sale. Why? Because I find Cyber Monday and Black Friday overwhelming and just annoying. I get inundated with emails. I know that the industry explodes. Everyone puts all the things on sales. And honestly, like, shit doesn't even feel like it's on sale. I feel like Thanksgiving is stressful. I feel like the holidays are stressful. This is just like a really, really chaotic time of year. And I want you to have options. I don't want you to feel like if you want to unplug from your phone around the holidays, that you need to be on your phone to like get this deal. I want you to have 2 months to do this if you want to like lock in at the rate that the sale is at. You get to lock in at $520 a year or $65 a month, which is huge, huge, massive savings for the amount of offerings that you get when you join the team. So surprise, we're putting the team on sale for November and December. We're trying it this year, seeing how it goes, because your girl hates the idea of Black Friday. I hate it. I think it's dumb. I just don't want to be on my phone around that time of year. And I hope you don't either. And I hope you don't feel pressure from us to like act quickly. Now you have 2 months. I hope you'll join the team. The team is so much fun. The team is a really great deal. It is an investment, but it really is a great deal. If you think about you doing like 2 or 3 training experiences in a year, the team is for you. If you want some more support, or you just want to that connection where you're really meeting your teammates and having them to lean on for support, join the team. Check it out. Everything is linked down below, so check that out. But let's talk about training this week. So, race week. It was also a kickback week. So I wasn't doing a really long run. Things shifted a little bit. I'm in the high hormone phase of my cycle. My sleep was shit this week. And I felt it. I felt it in my training. I felt awful in my training this week. Not always, but like a lot of it felt really challenging and tough. And my heart rate was a little elevated. So Monday, I had initially intended to do a cycling, a ride, and strength work. I ended up just taking a rest today. I slept like shit. I think I got like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. I was up every other hour. I was tossing and turning. I just felt horrible. And I was like, the best thing I can do for myself today is just to rest. And I think like my day also exploded. This is my like 4 month, like this is my most stressful month of the year. You're like everything around the New York City Marathon is really, really, really stressful. There's so many events that I have to work around. There's deals that I have to work around. I have friends who I want to be there for, and that always like just get the short end of the stick because I have to try to like make money and survive. I wish I could win the lottery and that I could just be there for everybody for free and like be there for my friends the way I want to be there. I feel so shitty when I always have to like cancel shit because I have to go to work stuff. It sucks. And then like a real curveball, which I'm really excited about. I'm so excited. My mom's coming to visit. She's coming for my sister had a baby in December, and it's her first Halloween. And so she's coming for my mom's birthday's on the 29th. My sister's birthday's on the 30th, and then Halloween's on the 31st. And then their wedding anniversary is on the 25th. So it's like the week of cake. But, yeah, so we're going to see her for her birthday, for my sister's birthday, and then obviously go trick-or-treating on Halloween and be there for that. She's staying with me for half the week, and then I have people coming for the marathon who are staying with me. So it's just like this is a very stressful time of year. And on top of that, I've got dozens and dozens of athletes who I want to make sure feel prepared and strong and ready to crush the day. I've got so many coaching calls going on. It's just like I feel really overwhelmed. I feel really, really, really overwhelmed and really stressed out and like not the best version of myself right now. And I'm like, I just don't have patience. I just don't like how I feel right now, but I'm getting through. I'm not complaining. I'm just getting through. Yeah, so I ended up taking an extra rest day on Monday. I knew it was the best thing for me, and I have no regrets. Originally, I had intended to be like, just go ride your bike in the middle of the day. And then the middle of the day came around and like work just blew up, and I was like, I also just need to rest. So like, let's just keep working and keep trucking through. And like, that's what I did. No regrets. Tuesday, I had originally intended on doing my speed play for that week, 2x2 miles at threshold pace with 3 minutes of recovery. I ended up doing just time on my feet day, conversational pace runs. I knew I wanted to go to Badass Lady Gang New York City in the evening because I had cleaned out my closet a couple of weeks ago. I put everything on Poshmark. So, hey, if you are interested in looking at my closet, Kelly KK Roberts on Poshmark, same as all my handles. Go shop my stuff. You can shoot me a DM and say like, hey, I'm shooting you an offer. I'm going to lowball you. And I'm going to say, you got it, girl. I'm going to accept because I just want to get rid of everything. So, yeah, I got rid of a bunch of stuff. But then with all my running stuff and Badass Lady Gang stuff, I always like put everything in a bag and I bring it to Badass Lady Gang before selling it. And anything anyone doesn't want, then I sell. So I really wanted to go to Badass Lady Gang and get everybody to take a bunch of stuff before I listed it on Poshmark. So I originally was going to do 60 minutes, but I ended up doing 50 minutes and then another 20 minutes at Badass Lady Gang New York, which was nice because I stepped down from Badass Lady Gang New York City leading. And one of the things we always do when a leader steps down but wants to continue to go is just like take a month or two off to like let the new leaders kind of get their bearings and figure it out together without you being there, because that transition is hard for the gang. You need to get used to your new leaders and the new vibe and the shift that happens. And I didn't want to be there because though I stepped down, like I'm still in charge of Badass Lady Gang. This is something we figured out when I'm not going to get into it. I really wanted Jess and Kayla to really feel confident about being in charge and making changes and not worrying about me being like, are you sure you want to do that? So I also just like really wanted to go. And it was nice because I got to spend the majority of Badass Lady Gang with this girl who it was her first time. It was her first time to Badass Lady Gang. She had just moved to the city. And so like we ran together and it was nice to meet the new girls who had found Badass Lady Gang and then see all of our old friends. So it was just like really nice to go. And I really wanted to go again this week, but I can't. There's no time. So after this week, I'm back to Badass Lady Gang New York City on Tuesdays, which I'm really excited about because I really miss it. So yeah, I ended up doing 50 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. Wednesday, I had originally planned for strength work and 40 minutes, and I ended up doing my speed play. So that 2x2 minutes at threshold pace with 3 minutes of recovery, and then 4x200 at repetition pace. I forget what my recovery was, a minute, but it went really well despite feeling absolutely like shit. It was a little warmer than it has been. It was like 60 degrees maybe when I took off, which isn't bad, but like when you're used to 45, that's a pretty big jump. So I was very proud of myself. My first 2 miles were an average of 8-minute 37-second pace. And then my next 2 miles, the average was 8:51. And I really felt it in my next 2. I was working really hard to stay in the effort level that I needed to stay in. So that was tough. And then by the time the 4x200 came around, I just like really didn't want to do them. But what's annoying is I hit something on my Apple Watch Ultra before my first 200 meter repeat. I don't know what it was. I think it was called backtracking. So like the GPS got wonky and the screen changed and I couldn't figure out how to get out of it during the after the first 200. So I was frustrated and I ended up like being 20 meters short of 200 and like just it was frustrating. So I was a little frustrated. So I had to kind of like shake it off and like work on getting back to a place where I felt really confident for the next 3 200 meter repeats. They felt all over the place. They weren't the most consistent. I wasn't very proud of it, but it was what it was. And I just, sometimes that shit happens, whether your watch screws up or you screw up or someone gets in your way or something happens. It is what it is. And you shake it off and you try to stay present. I really felt terrible. I didn't feel good. I really had to fight to stay present, but I'm really glad I did it. I'm glad I didn't quit, got it over with, did it, whatever. Wednesday, I also got to go see Coach Amanda. Coach Amanda is also a masseuse. She does 2 days in the city, doing sports massage, and she had kind of me and Amanda have like a standing weekly call, and she had kind of put her foot down and was like, you have to come in for a massage. It's been way too long. I'm worried about your body. And I'm really glad she made me do that, because I was like, I don't have time. I don't think I have time. And my hips are starting to give me a little bit, not my hips, my right piriformis and my right hip are I'm just starting to feel tired, and like old injuries are starting to emerge. And nothing bad. The pain is not bad. When it comes to injuries, if the pain is ever above a 4 out of 10 on the pain scale, immediately stop running. You take 3 days off. If the pain doesn't get better, right, the first thing you do is a jump test. So you jump 20 times on 2 legs, 20 times on your injured leg. You can do like jump forward and back, side to side, twisting. And if you're pain free, you can go for like a 20 to 30 minute run to test out the waters. If that you are pain free, you are okay to get back into training. I would still recommend seeing someone like a physical therapist to figure out what that pain is being caused by and start to rehab it. Specifically a physical therapist who sees runners, if that's an option for you. But if the pain persists, stop running, and you need to go see someone like an orthopedist to either possibly get imaging or get the okay to just do physical therapy. But either way, both options, you should be seeing a physical therapist to help rehab that injury. My pain is at like a 1 out of 10. It's just starting to be something that I'm paying attention to. Up until now, it's like a little tiny fire that I was immediately able to blow out by really prehabbing, doing my strength work, foam rolling like crazy, really working on my form, my gait, really being really smart about doing my dynamic warm-ups, like all of the things. I'm checking all the boxes, not doing too much, listening to it. But I think one of the things I'm starting to remind myself is, if I want to do this in the spring, I need to really pay attention to how I'm feeling right now and stay healthy and keep that fire out. It's just easier said than done. So that's like on my radar, and seeing Amanda relatively often is a piece of that. So yeah, it didn't feel great, but I'm glad I did my Thursday, I had originally intended for a 60-minute run. I ended up doing a 50-minute run. It was fine. I wasn't stoked to be doing it. I kind of, again, sleeping off, felt kind of crappy. And when given the option of like adding 10 more minutes in Prospect Park or just like running the loop, I was like, just run the loop. We're good with that. I'm good with 10 minutes less than what I wanted to do today. I feel good. I'd rather just like continue focusing on running strong and not having my form go to shit. And I was so stoked to be done when I got home, and I was like, I knew I made the right choice. Friday, I ended up taking a rest day. Saturday was race day. All right, let's talk about the race. 40 minutes into this podcast, we're finally talking about the race. So my race plan going into it there wasn't paces. I had hoped I could maintain 10-minute miles. That was kind of like my C goal, was, can you just maintain 10-minute miles, which all my long runs have been recently about 10:20, 10:30 pace. So that felt hard. Not hard, but like that felt like, okay, that's going to be challenging. I kind of knew, based on what my speed play was looking like, that on a really good day, I might be able to hold 9-minute miles the entire time. That's my race pace. And my goal was, I don't know if I said it on here, I wanted to try to do 53 to 54 minutes. I didn't know if that was possible on a really hilly course. On a flat course, I really think that was possible. I think I probably could have hit 53. Based on how my threshold pace stuff was going, looking at my 2x2 miles for this week and last week, some of my 15-minute stuff, things like that. So I was looking online, I was watching YouTubes, I was looking at the elevation chart, and it just looked really hilly. And from what I heard, it was really hilly. I heard the finish was on a hill. And so I was just kind of like, okay, I'm not going to focus on paces. I'm just going to focus on efforts. I'm really smart about how I race hills. I'm going to push hard on the downhills and try to run strong on the ups, but just stay present and try not to look at my watch too much. So the morning of the race, night before the race, I slept absolutely horribly. I think I got 3 hours of sleep. I don't know if I ate something weird because I ate what I always eat, or if it was just nerves and high hormone phase stuff, because in the high hormone phase, I do tend to have some GI distress stuff. And I just was up with like such a bad stomach ache and like bathroom situation that I was like, great, cool. I ended up taking Pepto-Bismol at like 2 a.m. because I was like, I have to try to sleep and I can't just keep waking up every hour, just like so uncomfortable and feeling the way I'm feeling. So, I took a Pepto knowing that it probably would mean I wouldn't be able to go to the bathroom the way I like to go to the bathroom in the morning of a race, but I would take another Pepto that morning. So I woke up, drank my sports drink like I always do, ate my food like I always do, felt tired, and Jeannie picked me up, my best friend. It was me, Jeannie, and my two best friends, Jeannie and Melissa. And Jeannie picked me up at 6:40. We drove up to the Upper East Side. We picked up Melissa. We drove up to Sleepy Hollow to her friend's house who lives up there and hung out for a little while. And so the first thing we did was go to where the finish line is and pick up our bibs. Jeannie ran over, picked up her bibs. So we drove up this hill and I was like, fuck, this is what we finish on. This is the gnarliest hill. This is such a steep, steep hill. Oh no, which helped. I'm really glad we saw that because it really helped me figure out my strategy for the race itself and how to finish. And we picked up our bibs, went to her friend's house, hung out for a little while, and then we walked a mile to the start. The start and the finish were right next to each other. We got to the race about 10 minutes before it started, which was like perfect. I didn't want to be there that long. And then the race started. The first part of the race was a lot of downhills. There were definitely uphills, but a lot of it was rollers, like pretty significant rollers. I was just going off of effort. I felt really strong. My first mile was 8:23, and I looked down and saw that and was like, oh no, that's probably too fast. But I didn't think anything of it. I said, that's okay. We're going off of effort level, and this doesn't feel hard. I really feel confident that I can hold this for the entire race. So I'm not worried about it. I am going to pull back a little bit, and that's where I want to be. So mile 2 was 8:29, so I did pull it back a little bit. My original idea was mile 1 slow, 2 through 5 was like threshold pace, let's work. And then the last 2 miles spicy, right? Not the last 2 miles, the last mile, 2 to 5, let's work, threshold pace, and the last mile spicy. So 1, 2 rolling hills with like one significant climb between 1 and 2. And it was like a long climb, but it felt very much like the Manhattan Bridge. So like nothing shocking, right? I felt fine on it. I was like, I run this hill all the time, even though not this hill, but like a hill similar. There was the douchiest hill between 3 and 4. 3 and 4 or right before 3? I can't remember. Mile 3 was 8:25. I'm pretty sure it was like between 3 and 4. Yeah, it was, because we had just hit the halfway mark, the 5K mark, and a little bit further is where I could see the leaders come at us. And I was kind of like, try to do math in my head of like, how much ahead of me are they? Like they probably are running 5-minute miles. So they're probably 15 minutes ahead of me, which might be a mile, maybe 5 miles ahead of me, 5 minutes ahead of me. I famously can't do math. So I was like trying to figure out where are they? And I was like, I know I'm at least 5K away from the finish, which means like just thinking about, I don't think this is an out and back because I didn't see it set up that way. So like I'm probably just seeing them for a second. Okay. That means I probably have half of a mile in here. That's what I like came to the conclusion of. They're probably half a mile ahead of me. So, which who knows? we run in this little neighborhood and we turn a corner. I think it was like right after we saw mile 4 that this hill started. I can't remember. There was the gnarliest hill. It was just so steep. It was kind of broken into 2 parts. The first part was steep, but then the second part was like really steep to the point where I felt, even though I was running, I felt like I wasn't moving. And I was just like, fuck, what was that? That was mean. That was a mean hill. Yeah. So I don't know. So yeah, mile 4 was 9:01. And I was like, that's okay. Between now and mile 5, the goal is just to like stay on it and stay consistent. And coming back down from that hill, like all of that section, there was like maybe half of a mile where it was just like trying to come down this like really steep hills. And that was hard. That was just as hard as going up. The steep downs were so gnarly. I couldn't even like let my legs go and like let gravity take me down because I just felt like I would fall down on my face, which that's how you feel when you push down hills. But like these were so steep that you were like, I can't even push down. Mile 4 to 5 was hard. I was kind of like, this is hard. I'm not panicking. This doesn't feel insurmountable. I'm okay. Just stay on it. When I got to mile 5, my watch said 8. I think I missed what my watch dinged at. So my 5th mile was 8:53, which makes sense because I do feel like I fell back a little bit and I wasn't able to get the turnover that I wanted, but I didn't feel like I was struggling and I didn't feel like bad. I think it was just like the product of like running these hills and trying not to throw everything I had left away, and I wanted to save what I had for mile 6. So when mile 5 dinged, or when we got to the mile 5 marker, and I knew 5 to 6 was going to be relatively flatter, still with some hills, but like nothing crazy. But I knew 6 to the finish, that final 0.2 was up a really gnarly hill. So I was like, I want to run a really strong mile here, but not something that's going to like really push me to a place where I would start the hill gasping for breath. I want to get up the hill strong. So luckily, like I was able to pick it up a little bit. Mile 6 ended up being an 8:42-ish. And then that uphill was just so hard. I tried to run up it strong. And then when we got to the top, there was maybe 50 yards, 100 yards maybe to the finish. And I tried to pick it up and started to dry heave. And I was like, whoop, nope, guess not. I dry heaved like 3 times. And I was like, do not throw up in front of all these people. This is not that big of a deal. Like just finish. Yeah, I ended up running, I think it was a 54:54. I don't know exactly what the time was, the chip time, my chip time was. It might have been a little slower than that, 54:56 or something. But I'm guessing there was like a 5-second delay from when I touched my watch. So maybe it was faster. I don't know. I feel really, really, really good about it. My heart rate was really high in the end. But yeah, the race itself went fantastic. My average pace was so much faster than what I thought it would be, just because it was a really hilly course. But based on what my threshold pace has looked like the last couple of weeks, it's not crazy shocking. I think, based on how that race was, that I can make this spring BQ possible. It still feels like a huge stretch. But just looking at where I came in 8 weeks, going from where I was to where I am right now, thinking 6 months more of work, if I can stay healthy, I do think it's possible, which is really exciting and really scary because that was really hard. And I need to run 30 seconds a mile. I mean, not even 40, 50 seconds a mile faster than that. on marathon day, which is marathon pace is significantly slower than threshold pace. So thinking about making that shift is so scary to think about. So I'd honestly, like, my best advice is like, don't think about it. Right. And again, we're still talking. This is how we're talking about it. You only can do what you can do. And that's the best you can at these workouts. And my only goal is to give my best each week, focusing on 1 week at a time. So though, when I think about it in terms of like, if I were to run the spring race at these paces, that feels so like I can't do it. I don't think I can do it. It's really far away. And we have time, and I think given the amount of time that I have available to me, 6 months, I think it's possible. I don't think it's outlandish. I think it's going to take a lot of work, and I think I need to stay healthy. And again, can I tell you this? Can I tell you my backup plan? I kind of want, if the spring's not possible, I originally wanted to do Chicago as my backup, but my backup's Disney World. What if I try to BQ at Disney World in 2026, January 2026? Isn't that crazy? Is that crazy? I kind of want to try. I mean, that's my backup. Spring is still the goal, but I do think it'd be fun to do it there. Although I really want to do the Disney World Marathon one day, but the way I've always wanted to do it is try to get faster so that push the first 20 miles. And then when I get to Hollywood Studios, try to ride as many rides as humanly possible until the balloon ladies get there and then finish. So that's been my dream forever. That's probably like on par with BQing, actually, is like those are my two running dreams. So a part of me doesn't like that would have to be how it would I would have to wait another year or a couple more years in order to do that. So I don't know. Moving on. Sunday, I had originally planned for a 60-minute run, but on 10K day, I had intended to do like a 10-minute warm up and then a 10 to 20-minute cool down, and that didn't happen. Like, it was just a walking warm up and a walking cool down. I didn't run. So I took a kickback week in terms of my long run and made it a 90-minute run. And I was curious. I haven't done a 90-minute run since week 2 of training. I was really curious to look at the difference between the two. And the biggest difference is I didn't do the same route. My route today was significantly hillier. I did 2 bridges. I did the Manhattan and the Brooklyn Bridge, whereas in week 2, I did a predominantly flat route. I went out to Brooklyn Bridge Park and came back, which had like very minimal elevation. So in week 2, my average pace was 10:45, whereas today in week 8, it was 10:28. So like a pretty significant jump for 6 weeks of work, which like I feel really good about. Granted, like weather's different. I have 6 weeks of training in me. Pretty cool. I was curious to look at like heart rate. My average heart rate in week 2. Oh yeah, week 2 was 147 beats per minute, and today it was 148. So very similar. Low heart rates for the long run, which is great. That's what we like to see. Now, don't hear these numbers and be like, oh my God, my heart rate on my long runs is 165. Heart rate data is going to be very specific to you, your age, where you are, the weather, all sorts of stuff. And even then, our watches aren't the most accurate things. So just focus on effort level. I felt for both of these, it was slow, strong, steady. And so it's not crazy shocking that they're like as consistent as they are. I also wanted to look at my cadence. Cadence is like how many steps you're taking in a minute. And what's interesting is in week 2, my cadence was 155 steps per minute. And today it was 159 steps per minute. And also like a slight change in my ground contact time. So how long my feet stay on the ground before they come back up. Minimal change, but still a change. It went from 299 milliseconds in week 2 to 287. So all the data that you would expect to see with 6 weeks of training underneath you, like everything is trending in the right way, which is great. The one thing I didn't get done this week that I'm a little disappointed is strength work. Didn't do any strength work this week. I just didn't have it in me, to be honest. This week it was exhausting and overwhelming. And this week, upcoming week, is going to be equal exhausting and overwhelming. It's marathon week here in New York City. So it's New York City Marathon week, which means I'm going to be running around with my head chopped off, trying to get deliverables done for deals I have and be with my mom and be there for my friends and athletes. So we have so much going on. So I'm going to read you what I intend to do, but let me just be completely honest and frank and say everything's going to change. If I can do half of what's on here, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to be so honest with you. I have no idea how I'm going to get my long run in. I have no clue how this is possible. Monday, cross training and strength. I want to get back on my strength work, and I really need to get on a bike. Tuesday, I have kilometer repeats, which makes my stomach turn over. I'm going to not get in my head about it. Kilometer repeats are scary and they're hard, and it's at interval pace. Big workout. Wednesday, 50 minutes conversational pace, though I'm actually going to put a 40 in front of that right now. 40 to 50 minutes conversational pace. Honestly, Wednesday might end up being my long run. I don't know, because then that can't go back to back with Tuesday. I don't know what to do. Thursday, I really want to make all these workouts happen. Thursday, I have 2 by 15 minutes at threshold pace and then 2 by 400 meters at interval pace. So the way that workout goes is you do 15 minutes at threshold pace, recovery, 2 by 400 meters at interval pace. So 400 recovery, 400 recovery, 15 minutes at threshold pace, 400 recovery, 400 recovery. So big workout, hard workout, but key workout. Friday is as of right now my rest day. I don't know. Saturday, as of right now, Saturday is my long run, 2 hours, 10 minutes. And then Sunday I have a 60-minute run. My gut is saying to make Sunday my long run, which is the day of the marathon, and just wake up the second the sun peeks through, which I think will be at 7 because that's daylight savings. I won't have time because the race starts at 9. I don't have longer than 80 minutes to run on Sunday because I have to shower and get to our first cheer station. I don't know what I'm going to do. But Saturday I have to go to a shakeout run, and then Friday is our shakeout run. It makes sense to do it Friday. I honestly have no idea. I don't know what this week's going to look like. If I can, like I said, if I can get 50% of this done, I'm going to be happy. But I don't know what's possible. I don't know if Sunday I'm going to end up doing another 90-minute run and just finish it, bookend it with race pace. Maybe do 60 minutes conversational pace and then 40 minutes or 20 minutes at race pace and then another 20 minutes faster than race pace. That might happen. I don't know. I'm going to be flexible with myself. I'm going to be kind to myself. This is a really hard and stressful week. I'm excited for everybody running the New York City Marathon. I'm going to try not to make this a main character moment because it's not about me, but it's like my final 2 weeks of training and just so much work stuff is going on. The good news is this is not peak week. I had originally worried that this upcoming week is peak week, but it's not. The following week is peak week. I really just want to have a strong final 2 weeks of training. But if this week goes sideways, I'm not losing sleep over it. Work and life come first. That's all. Oh my God, is this seriously an hour long? Wow. Your girl sure can talk. Anyways, that's a wrap. Next week, the team goes on sale November 1st, 2024. Check it out. Come join us. Come train with us. And if you have any questions, shoot me an email about the team. I'm happy to talk you through whether or not I think it's a good option for you. It's a lot of fun. I love our team. I love what we do. I love the feedback we get. What we do is very different. It really is. I feel no shame saying that. Come train with us. It's really fun. All right, everybody. I need a nap. Kick ass. Take names. I will talk to you next week. I can tell you right now, next week's podcast is going to be late. Expect it late Monday. Bye, everybody.